Hey everybody, this is Perch. Get to a mail in a second, but I was thinking about this the other day. I did a video and I wound up just deleting it, where it was a kind of a conversation that I've had in a comic shop that I don't really think works on YouTube. Basically, it was just I was talking politics, and you don't come to this channel to talk to politics, and there would be somebody in the comments like, "I don't come to this channel to talk for politics," and even though you put this video is about politics, I am upset at you. That's how you would sound too. But anyway, I did this. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't work on YouTube. It does, like, this one way communication doesn't work. But in the comic shop, you would have conversations about comics, but you would have conversations about wrestling. You'd have conversations about movies. You'd have conversations about politics, about anything and everything. Now, to be clear, I was never one of those people in the comic shop, nor anybody who worked for me. Like, people would come in and be like, "Which party you voting for?" Well, you ain't welcome here. Nothing like that. It just, you talk about stuff. Generally speaking, what I found is that people who are comic book fans, when they talk politics, they tend to gravitate toward a impossible party. They want they want something that neither of the big parties are offering. They're wanting kind of this combination of generally socially fairly liberal-ish, financially fairly conservative-ish, but more just like you get into these things like, I think that they should create an island out in the sea and the prisoners should go there and they should be forced to row for hydroelectricity. And that's what I mean. You get these wild ideas, and those were fun. I mean, I'll tell you, talking politics in the comic shop was usually a lot of fun because you'd weave in and out of reality. Like, well, what do you think of this Trump-Harris thing? I don't know, but what if the Silver Surfer was a candidate? Well, would that even work? He's an illegal immigrant, technically, but does he have his U.S. citizenship? No, he doesn't. So that wouldn't work. What about Wolverine? No, Wolverine's a Canadian citizen, but he's lived here for a while. I don't. Oh shit! Now that I think about it, like, none of the X-Men could be president. Like Kitty Pryde, we were Kitty Pryde would have to be president, but how would that work? She could just phase into the Oval Office, like but what about tax reform? Like, you'd get into all over the place, and that was a lot of fun. But I've noticed because a couple of people have commented on this. Comic creators who have been posting as the election is getting closer, more aggressive things. This is kind of what I was talking about in the other video that I deleted. They very firmly settled on the you can't vote for a Nazi, vote for Harris kind of mentality. But it's the way they describe it that I always find fascinating. Where my mind goes is they'll say things like, hey kids, it's never okay to vote for a Nazi. And I thought, well, yeah. I mean, again, no shit. And but Nazi has become a name that you're calling just whoever you don't agree with. I think if you truly, calling Trump a Nazi, you can call him a bad president. You can call him too old. You can call him stumbling. You could call him a liar. You could call him an exaggerator. You could call him lots of things. But calling him a Nazi is basically taking a term that meant something and changing its term. But you still want all the negative connotation of that. It's just Nazi has a meaning. And I don't, you've been listening to this video, this channel for a long time. I'm a stickler for kind of what words mean, right? It's like that. Like, this is why so many of you get after me and are pissed when I say the creators don't hate you. It's because hate has a meaning, and Nazi has a meaning. So to say, I mean, Nazi went through this evolution, right? You had Nazis in the 40s, of course, in the war, and then you had Nazi. Through the 80s and 90s, Nazi was used like you would say gay or retarded or things like that. You weren't really talking about it was a slur. And Nazi was generally what that was describing was that somebody was too buttoned up, too rule following, right? It's like, this teacher's a Nazi. She wants this homework in by tomorrow. That's how you would use Nazi. If you grew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, it would mean that. And I remember actually, being with my grandfather, and I said, this person's a Nazi, it just very casually, right? And my grandfather's like, hey, that, because he fought in the war. He's like, in World War II, he's like, I shot and killed Nazis. We're not calling the Home Depot guy a Nazi, like, because he's, wanting to check our ID to buy spray paint, like that. It offended him a lot. I think today, if he was alive and saw the political discourse, he would be pissed because it was hey, I went and I shot Nazis. Like that's what I did. That was what I did in the war. I shot a lot of Nazis, and I knew what those were. And I'm offended that this thing that was a big chunk of my life, and life or death stuff, harrowing, that you're now taking kind of that term and you're applying it to like the guy at McDonald's because he wants to check your receipt before he hands you the burger. Like that's not appropriate. It really offended him. And it feels like we've lost track of that entirely. The idea that actually this word has a meaning, and it's a pretty serious meaning, and now we're just throwing it to everyone. We don't lie, and really in kind of these over the top terms. So anyway, I see these creators say it's never okay to vote for a Nazi. I always think, like, what if you replace the word Nazi with like another gross thing like pedophile? Like, so I'm trying to picture like Adam Hughes or Heather Antos or somebody going, kids, it's never okay to vote for a pedophile. It's like, okay, yeah, true, fair enough. But is that where we're going? Like, I kind of wonder, that if 2024 Nazi is the slur we're going to use to attack our political candidates. Well, if I fast forward to like 2035, 2040, like what are we going to land with there? But I mean, just think of that. Nick, every time when I see a comic creator write something like, I promise this is loosely related to the mail I'm going to read in a second, but when I see a comic creator write something like, this year, you can't vote for a Nazi. Nazis are never okay. Like, would you also write, it's not okay to vote for somebody who murders their children, or it's not okay to vote for, a guy whose vice president shot someone in the face. It's not like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's also something you could say. Maybe it was those lectures from my grandfather sticks in my head, but I just can't. I can't do the Nazi thing, and so when I see people doing that, it always feels like a hysterical tantrum to me, and not a serious comment. And if you and so my brain kind of locks up. It's like, but if you seriously don't like this guy, Trump, why would you write an unserious comment like it's not okay to vote for Nazis? Like, why wouldn't you say it's not okay to vote for a guy who, doesn't keep his promises and here's some miserable way. I mean, I guess I get why it's more exciting to say Nazi, and it's also lazier and sloppier. So I don't need you guys in the comments to like, well, Perch, here's why. I get it. I get why. It just, in my head, it just always feels like such incredible laziness. Anyway, I don't know. Did any of you, when you went to the comic shop, did you have these kind of crazy conversations? They were so much fun. So much fun. I'm like, maybe, and if California was launched into space by AIM, then what would that do to the Electoral College? It's like, I don't know. That's fun stuff to talk about. I wish we could talk about that here. But as a one-man show, talking to you, it doesn't work. Anyway, here's this email, and I think all the preamble actually fits this email. It says, hey, Perch, as we're getting close to the election, if Harris wins, do you think comic pros will relax? Or are they going to be smug and arrogant? And if Trump wins, do you think they will have a meltdown? Curious what you think. What is your prediction? Curious what you think. What is your prediction? All right. I predict we're getting a meltdown either way. I predict that if Trump wins, we're definitely going to see the usual assortment of like, I fear for my life. I'm going to move to Canada. No one will move to Canada, but you'll see a lot of that stuff. And then you'll get some people who go for the, because apparently, nostalgia's in. So it's gonna be like, I am resisting by, I am only going to go to restaurants that have a pride flag and the anti-Trump sticker, and this is how I'm saving democracy. I don't know. You're going to see that. And if Harris wins, I think you're going to see a similar meltdown because it will feel like, put it this way, this election, and you really hope this election is like 60-40, just so lopsided that it's like decisive. It needs to be decisive. But if Harris wins, and my prediction, as I've said before, I think Harris does win. But if Harris wins, like 50% to 49%, like it's a razor thin race, right? I think the people in comics will view that as if Harris won like 99% to 1%. They will view it as like this massive, over the top crazy mandate. And then they will just be absolutely insufferable. You will see people coming out going, if I ever catch a Trump voter reading one of my comics, I'm going to rip it out of your hands and piss on your face. Like you'll see this like super macho bravado that will go on. And then you will see kind of a rise in corresponding, the creators are dicks, channels. And I mean, it's all a big loop. I mean, from a, forget about the president, forget about what actually happens to the country because we live in comics land. So forget all that stuff. Let's just talk about what would be the most peaceful possible thing to happen. The thing that probably would be the most calming, and I'm not saying, I think I've identified in this channel, I dislike both of them a lot. So this isn't an endorsement of anyone. A very lopsided Trump victory, like Trump wins 75%, which will zero chance that happening. But Trump wins 75%. That's probably the thing that is going to be the most calming because it will be so lopsided. A lot of comic pros are going to be like, they won't even be able to kind of fool themselves into thinking it's a close resistance. They can do something. They will just kind of, they'll sulk and then they'll talk about moving to Canada and they'll just kind of shut the fuck up and do their thing. I think that's probably the one that is the most peaceful. I absolutely agree that if Trump won like that, there would be a handful of idiots who would, use it as an excuse to just become absolute insufferable assholes as well on Trump's side. But it's probably the one that gets us fastest to just people shutting the fuck up and getting on with their lives. If it's the other way around, if Kamala wins, I think it will, the arrogance that it will embolden people with will be insane. If it's close and Harris wins, same result. If it's close and Trump wins, I think we get chaos of kind of people believing they're now freedom fighters. So I don't know. It is a shitty timeline. I really just wish. Here's what I'll leave you with this. So hopefully that answered the mail. And again, my opinion, I don't expect anyone to feel like me, vote like me, be like me. It's my own personal decision. It's your personal decision. It's none of anybody's business but your own, truly. And the world would be a lot happier place if that's what it was. But what really needs to happen is I need to run for president. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Can you imagine? Well, on one hand, we could lower taxes, but on the other hand, we could raise taxes. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm joking. Anyway, thanks for listening.